Without hesitation, the woman shot at the large man. The problem is that you wouldn't want to mess with this person. Even when he drove a bright yellow automobile across rooftops, he was unable to stop her from escaping. He had no choice except to summon backup. However, Ryder Ellie didn't comprehend that she wasn't simply an ordinary person, even though the entire incident was really a daydream. She was a skilled woman. She was capable of throwing knives, running like a pro, jumping great distances, and eliminating anyone who was in her path. She even succeeded in blowing up the ship that was transporting some special operatives in the end. You see, she was your regular novelist only a week before. Agent Argylle was the title of Ellie's novel. It became an immediate sensation. Because RG felt so real, as if he may actually step out of the pages, people couldn't get enough of it. She wrote 5 more volumes after realizing how popular it was. Her mother then gave her a video chat call the night of her most recent release. Despite finishing the most recent novel, Mom wasn't pleased with its conclusion. She told Ellie she was traveling over that weekend to work on a suitable ending with her because she felt it was ambiguous and left things open-ended. Ellie, however, decided she should go home. When she boarded a train, she immediately encountered an odd man. He took the seat across from her and started talking to her. Ellie wasn't sure how to react because she hadn't been writing for years and wasn't exactly accustomed to talking to males. Nevertheless, she responded to him out of courtesy. When the man took out one of her books and began leafing through it, things took a different turn. He resumed his conversation after a while, claiming to be a covert spy of some sort. Ellie started to see him as the guy from her books, RG himself, as he talked about his strange stories. When a fan recognized Ellie and went up to get her autograph, things became even stranger. Suddenly, the fan produced a syringe. Fortunately, the odd man across from Ellie took quick action. More assassins soon arrived and mayhem ensued. After grabbing a gun, the man began shooting at the assailants. The man resembled ARG from her novels more and more each time Ellie blinked. The man attempted to escort Ellie to safety following the altercation, but she didn't trust him and ran away. She raced directly into another bunch of assassins, so that choice didn't work out so well. The odd man caught up, shoved her away, and continued to struggle. Someone once grabbed him as a window shattered. However, it appeared to Ellie that he threw his assailant out with ease. Then he lifted her, and they continued to run. They soon encountered a female assassin. To protect Ellie while he dealt with it, the man pushed her into a bathroom. Ellie continued to have hallucinations despite everything, unable to distinguish fact from imagination. In the end, the man was able to eliminate the assailants. More assassins were pursuing them as they made their way to the rear of the train. The man once pointed his firearm at 2 individuals who were pursuing them. Ellie thought she recognized those faces for some reason. Rather than give up, the man threw open a door, bound Ellie, and fled using a parachute. Scared to death, Ellie passed out. She was in the man's house when she woke up. He claimed to be a legitimate secret agent and identified himself as Aiden. His task was to keep Ellie safe. After turning on the television, Aiden played live video of Ellie's home while a gang of assassins was looting it. Ellie seemed understandably alarmed and accused Aiden of being a weirdo. He clarified that Carlos, his supervisor, had set up the surveillance. Carlos, like the villains Ellie had described in her stories, was apparently a rogue CIA agent. Carlos and his boss, Director Ritter, were looking for an important USB device, Aiden clarified. Ellie was targeted because these betrayals and other CIA secrets had been uncannily foreshadowed in her works. Ellie was somehow a prophet, and it was no longer a coincidence. Ellie discovered that the 5th volume of her book was actually happening as Aiden went on. To make matters worse, the CIA had already read it and was aware of what was about to happen. They were so desperate to get Ellie because of this. Fortunately, Aiden had reached her before anyone else. Director Ritter, meanwhile, was furious over his team's failure. He loaded a shotgun in a fit of wrath and threatened to shoot any subordinate who committed another error. In order to find a hacker who had important files on a USB drive, materials that might reveal serious CIA crimes like bombs and election meddling, among other things, Aiden required Ellie's assistance. The hacker had abruptly increased the USB's price before going missing. He was now being pursued by the CIA and Aiden. The twist? The scenario where the hacker was last seen has already been detailed in Ellie's book. However, Aiden had to use her imagination to determine the hacker's next move because Ellie hadn't written the next section yet. Aiden suggested they should travel to London to follow the hacker's trail when Ellie acknowledged she was completely out of ideas and in need of motivation. When they got to London the following morning, Aiden led Ellie to a park where the hacker was allegedly sighted. Ellie began making notes about potential next steps as part of her brainstorming session. Neither of them realized that Ellie's admirers were filming them and sharing them online. Ritter was interested in those vids. Ritter's squad used lip-reading technology to figure out what Ellie and Aiden were talking about and were ready to attack. Ellie said that a phone he left behind might hold the key to locating the hacker if he failed to appear at the prearranged spot. According to her account, Argylle tracked down the hacker by cracking the phone and discovering an encrypted chip. But previously, Aiden had thrown away the actual phone. Ellie, forced to improvise, thought that the encrypted chip was connected to satellites. They might find a hacker by identifying the correct satellite. While Aiden utilized his abilities to hack into a UK satellite data center, Ritter's squad followed Ellie's made-up strategy. Ellie was able to identify the satellite that was nearest to them and deciphered its code, which provided an address. The location was deserted when they got to the address. Nevertheless, Ellie's intuition took over. She found the wall behind a wallpaper was artificial after tearing it off. After discovering a hollow in the floor, Aiden forced it open to reveal a secret safe. Bundles of money, a key, and a diary with anarchist symbols on it were found inside. This was a sign that they were headed in the right direction. As she began to piece together ideas for the next section of the novel, Ellie's creative spark was rekindled. However, they ran across problems before they could rejoice. The building was overrun by assassins. Ellie and Aiden had taken refuge beneath the floorboards, but they were discovered when Ellie's cat let out a loud meow. Aiden had to move quickly and rely on his keen intuition and abilities to finish the task at hand. He had no time to second-guess anything. There was no place for high fives, but all the agents pursuing them were gone. They needed to keep going. There was more support as they rushed out. They saw a motorboat close by after Aiden escorted Ellie to the rooftop. Ellie then recalled the boat key they had discovered earlier. It occurred to me that this was most likely the hacker's escape strategy. The issue? They had no ladder, no ropes, no nothing to aid in their descent. The only thing to do seemed to be to jump. A tarp on the ground below caught Aiden's eye, and he reasoned that it might prevent their fall. Ellie was not at all persuaded. Aiden picked up the cat they had brought and dropped it to test his notion. The cat did indeed land safely. Ellie reluctantly followed Aiden's example, and they were able to get away. Ellie heard Aiden on the phone later that evening while she was staying at a hotel. Red flags were triggered by the fact that the other person was requesting that he bring Ellie to them. Ellie snatched up the cat and ran away in alarm. Ellie contacted her mother, Mary, in a panic, but she was cashless. To meet Ellie, Mary and her husband took a plane to London and reserved a posh hotel. Ellie's mother was there when she got there, and her father arrived soon after. The worst part is that director Ritter was actually Ellie's father. Ellie gave her father the hacker's notebook and told him everything that had transpired over the last 2 days, even though she didn't know who he was. The door flew open as Ritter began to read. With his revolver drawn, Aiden stormed in and captured Ritter. Unfazed, Ritter noted that there would be terrible repercussions if a CIA director's agents were killed. Already feeling overpowered, Ellie was even more taken aback when her mother produced a gun and pointed it at her. She was being threatened with death by the woman who had reared her. With no other option, Aiden begged Ellie to put her trust in him. The only person who hadn't attempted to murder her in the last few days was him. Ellie had no choice but to accompany him. A former CIA director named Alfie was waiting for them when they arrived at a sumptuous chateau in France the following morning. Alfie revealed that Ellie was a CIA agent in addition to being a novelist. The main character in her novel? She was that. Ritter and a psychologist pretending to be her mother had tricked her into writing the novels after she had lost her memory on a mission. The books were an ingenious ruse to get secret information. Ellie's entire world fell apart. She had been living in a false reality. She fled in horror. Unexpectedly, Ellie's fighting instincts came into play when Aiden sought to provoke her in an attempt to get her to stop it. In one quick motion, she defeated Aiden, fully embracing reality. Ritter, meanwhile, used high-tech spectacles that functioned as cameras to decipher the diary. Conversely, Aiden explained a wider picture to Ellie. Although he had no evidence, Alfie had long been aware of Ritter's dubious activities. Their covert tool for exposing him was Ellie. The individual who had visited the London park wasn't just anybody, it was Ellie. Later, however, Ritter had brainwashed her. According to the diary, the hacker had given the primary file to an enigmatic guardian called Miss Bada. The catch? The USB drive could only be retrieved by Ellie. Ellie finally decided to spend a day undercover after much persuasion. To meet Miss Bada, they took a plane to the Arabian Peninsula. Despite her nervousness, Ellie maintained her composure and was able to fool Miss B into giving her the USB. However, Ellie's face changed to one of shock as she went through the files. Disappointed, she gave the USB to Aiden and left. And then Mary appeared, alive and armed. The bulletproof vest had saved her life in the previous incident. They couldn't risk a fight because they were on Miss B's property. Instead, Mary invited them to tea. Aiden exchanged cups with her before they drank out of suspicion, but all three of them passed out nevertheless. The USB drive was on fire when Ellie woke up in Ritter's office. Another bombshell was disclosed by Ritter. Ellie had been his agent and had been working for him all along. He needed to know where Alfie was now, but Ellie honestly had no idea. Ritter took her to the interrogation room, where Aiden was being tortured, to put pressure on her. Even though Ellie pleaded with Aiden to divulge the information, he refused to comply with Ritter's request for her cooperation. At last, Ellie took a startling action and shot Aiden. She pieced out the location of Alfie's headquarters from the chaos. Aiden wasn't dead when the agents arrived to dispose of his body, which was a horrible surprise. Aiden removed them, demonstrating that Ellie had not betrayed him. Ellie was working against Ritter now, but she got her memories back. She started transmitting Alfie files on a CIA computer. She had been faithful to Ritter at first, but she had changed sides after learning of his wrongdoings. Her only choice now was to complete the task and eliminate Ritter. Ellie used her resurrected agent skills to face Ritter and Mary and take them out. Then she went to the armory to see Aiden. Despite the escalating tensions, Ellie was able to win his trust. Armed and prepared, they used smoke bombs and fast thinking to fight their way out of the CIA base. The two fled into the air ducts as Ritter, who was observing from the surveillance room, turned on the ventilation system to remove the smoke. Gunfire broke out when they reached a factory during the pursuit. Oil spilled everywhere when bullets hit pipes. For fear of a disastrous explosion, no one dared to light a fire again. The agents used knives, but Ellie outwitted them and defeated the whole team with a pair of makeshift ice skates. In the hopes of sending the files from there, she and Aiden managed to reach the control room. Ritter's retinal scan was unfortunately necessary for the device to function. Ellie's cat jumped at Ritter as he came in with his shotgun, scratching at his eyes. They needed a different strategy because Ritter was blinded when Aiden took the shot. They discovered a satellite setup outside. Mary showed up just as they were ready to upload the files, attempting to control Ellie. It briefly appeared as though Ellie would turn on Aiden, but Mary was rendered unconscious by a female agent that Ellie had previously rescued. As they fled, they burned the boat and successfully sent the files. Returning to her authentic self, Ellie completed the last chapter of her novel.